Good morning. Hello. Hello, welcome in the room, welcome people following online. It's Capital du Libre, it's MiniDebConf Toulouse. Roberto Sánchez and Santiago are going to talk to us about LTS. What is LTS? I don't know, but they will tell us. Thanks.
All right, thank you all for being here. So those of you who were in Cambridge last year may recall we gave a presentation titled LTS Starts in Unstable. And during the last year, we, the LTS team, have put substantial effort into this area and even beyond. We've begun to reach upstream and even to the broader free software community. So the goal of this talk is to provide a summary or review of ways that the LTS team has contributed beyond what we generally think of as LTS, and this will bring some recognition to the hard work of the team, and also give some examples of the kinds of things that we have done and that we hope will spark additional contributions from other folks within Debian and collaborations with our fellow Debian developers. That said, please feel free to ask questions as we go along, and yeah, I know to wait for them to have the mic. So yeah, but just feel free to ask questions as we go. But there will be a specific time for Q&A at the end, so either way. So I'm going to talk about just a very brief discussion of the history of LTS and the background, the sorts of activities which the individual contributors and the managers perform, a bit about the specific focus areas of the LTS team, and then I'm going to review some contributions made by the LTS team that Santiago will then kind of continue that discussion and take it into a broader view. And we'll look at contributions at the individual package level, we'll look at contributions to the Debian project as a whole, and then we're going to look at contributions to the broader free software community. And then, of course, at the end, there will be a specific time for Q&A. So the LTS effort is now in its 10th year, and the first Debian LTS release was Debian version 6 Squeeze, and all subsequent releases have had the benefit of the 5 years of security support that we try to deliver through the LTS effort. So during the course of the last 10 years, we've really worked towards improving the execution of our goals, primarily ensure timely security updates up to 5 years after release, and then a secondary goal of utilizing surplus funding towards improving Debian security and the Debian project overall. So we're making efforts in those directions. And of course, timely security updates are mostly straightforward. We pretty much all understand the concept. Somebody discovers a vulnerability, a CVE is issued, and then at some point we want to try to fix that in a relatively timely fashion. And of course, CVEs span a broad range of different types and things that are affected and all that. But in general, the overall concept is pretty well understood. And so we've worked on tooling improvements for this particular workflow, which is our most common one. And some of those have benefited others, for example, the security team. And then we've also sought opportunities to contribute in ways that may not provide a direct and immediate benefit to LTS, the kinds of things that we think of as investing in the future. And Santiago is going to talk quite a bit about that in the second half of the presentation. So Freexian pays the contributors, those who are regular contributors under the Freexian umbrella, who make contributions to LTS. Most of the time is spent on package updates, but members of the LTS team who are paid by Freexian are permitted to spend up to 25% of their allotted time on non-package tasks. So under the category of package tasks, we include things like preparing packages for, in addition to, so of course, preparing a package to upload to the LTS release, that goes without saying. But in addition to that, we consider package updates to include, for example, preparing packages for stable, whether that's stable security, proposed updates, and even for SID. So, and I'll give quite a few examples of that, but the idea would be like some package has a vulnerability, we fix it in LTS, and then we also coordinate with the security team, the release managers, and or the maintainers as applicable in order to help with the backporting of patches, testing, uploading, all those kind of things. We also consider filing bugs and interacting with upstream regarding fixes. We have several examples of that recently. Preparing patches and submitting them upstream if upstream has not yet developed patches. A lot of times we will find that upstream has already developed a patch, and what we're doing is backporting a patch on some newer upstream branch to this older code that's in LTS. Every once in a while, upstream either hasn't got to it or has no interest in a particular vulnerability. Maybe it doesn't affect whatever the current version is. So we might develop the patch within the LTS team and then forward that upstream. And then under these non-packaged tasks that contributors are authorized to spend up to 25% of their time on, we include things like to improve or implement tooling related to packages. So test frameworks. We have quite a few LTS contributors that put substantial effort into developing test frameworks, improving existing test frameworks, implementing auto-package tests, like these kind of things. We also include work on the security tracker and related infrastructure in the way of the tooling and these kind of things, and then implementing tooling to manage complex or difficult tasks. For example, last year in Cambridge, and some of the discussions that Santiago and I had with a couple of other folks, we realized there is no good tooling, for example, to handle security updates for packages in language ecosystems that favor static linking like Go and Rust. So the way the security team handles that is they say, we generally don't do updates for these, but because it's just too difficult. So developing tooling for that would be something that LTS contributors would be able to do, and we would consider that an improvement that benefits Debian overall. All right. So the team managers are myself and Santiago, and in addition, so now moving on from kind of the individual contributor activities to like what we do more on the management level, we also actively seek strategic level opportunities. So these external opportunities are ways that we engage with third parties for additional technical assistance. So in the past year, we've specifically sought technical assistance related to Samba and to MariaDB, and we will be talking more about that later in the presentation. And then we also, as far as internal efforts, we have these large multi-month efforts that we help kind of coordinate internally, including SendMail and Apache 2. And so SendMail was an ongoing effort by Ruka to deal with quite a few issues. Most people don't realize, so most people realize SendMail is a somewhat important package. A lot of people use it in Debian. It only recently came to my attention that it's orphaned, right? So, that's kind of an issue. Ruka has stepped forward and put a lot of effort into dealing with some of these issues and coordinating with the QA team, upstream Debian security team, Ubuntu security. And then Apache 2 was another particularly noteworthy effort, also on the part of Ruka, where he coordinated with one of the Apache maintainers, and it's been an ongoing long-term collaboration. So we'll look at that a little bit more later on in the presentation. So the focus here within this presentation is more on the work done by the LTS team as an extension of LTS. I'm not going to talk so much about the core preparing a particular package for LTS. It's going to be all the things that we've done that kind of go beyond that. That said, this does not include other ways which Freakscene uses to encourage Debian work. So for those who are Freakscene collaborators, 20% of their work time is funded or can be funded to be on any Debian contribution of their choosing. And there's also the project funding initiative where people can submit specific project ideas that are reviewed and funding allocated towards. And then there are specific Freakscene projects, so like the Debuzzine presentation. Yesterday is an example of a specific Freakscene project that has a goal of benefiting Debian overall, and that's completely apart from any specific contributions or efforts of the LTS team, though some LTS people are working on that as well. And so while the team members have a fair amount of latitude, there are still some. We ask them under the umbrella of LTS to connect whatever they're doing in some way to LTS, whether now or more likely in the future. So we're kind of trying to take a more look down the road approach and try to do things that will deliver a large benefit later for a small effort now. So in terms of package level contributions, so I've talked a fair amount about, what the LTS team does. We also encourage contributions from package maintainers to LTS, and I have several examples of those. We have, at this point, several maintainers that have approached the LTS team and expressed an interest in improving their state of their packages in LTS or helping with the maintenance of their packages in LTS, and we are absolutely thrilled with that. Sometimes the maintainers, just prepare the packages, what day is today? Sunday? Just earlier this week, toward the end of this past week, the Postgres maintainer prepared an update of Postgres and uploaded it, and then one of the LTS team members handled preparing the update and the announcement text and the bookkeeping and these kind of things. And we're thrilled by those kind of contributions. And then we have some other examples. The curl maintainer is systematically going about completely wiping out all the outstanding CVEs, including a lot of the minor ones within LTS. And so he's in Brazil and he's coordinating with a group of other Brazilian developers and kind of using this as an opportunity to mentor them and to give them experience with working on Debian packages and these kind of things. So it's very much a win-win. And so there's, again, we got a whole list here. And the point is, we are very thrilled by contributions by people who are not already LTS team contributors, and we recognize, of course, there's a lot of peculiarities to the workflow. So we have a mailing list, we have an IRC channel, and we're always ready to help them, anyone who wants to make a contribution with understanding the workflow and kind of what needs to be done and these kind of things. So the contributions by the LTS team members span a pretty broad range, and it goes all the way from pushing commits in the maintainer salsa repo to coordinating with security team, release managers, and or maintainers on package uploads, old stable security proposed uploads, SID, these kind of things. Extensive development and testing of patches, even up to patching and making uploads to packages in unstable. Infrastructure improvements, of course, are a common thing. It seems to me, at least, that package maintainers are becoming more open to having actively maintained LTS branches in their salsa repo, so that helps. At the beginning, we mostly were we would clone fork into a separate namespace. We still have to do that sometimes for a variety of different reasons, but a lot of maintainers are following kind of Debian best practices, and they're open to this. So for a lot of the packages, the LTS branch is just another branch in the maintainers' repos and in Salsa. This makes collaboration a lot more effective. It gives higher visibility to the patches because other distros and other interested parties can find them, better use of consistent CI, all these kind of things. And so as the project continues to encourage developers to host packages in Salsa to conform to things like Deb 14, we find that the workflow becomes smoother and these kinds of interactions are becoming easier, and I think that we are seeing some benefits. And there are enough challenges to backporting patches to very old code that any other aspects of difficulties that we can get out of the way are beneficial to kind of let us focus on the more difficult thing that we can't really get around. Okay, so here I have two examples of things that within the last year where the LTS team has made significant contributions that relate to specific high-profile CVEs that affected package versions in multiple active Debian releases. And these are great examples of like the robust collaboration between the LTS team, package maintainers, the release team, security team, so on and so forth. So we had the rapid reset attack, which was work done by Marcus Koskany, and he did a tremendous amount of work on reviewing patches and testing and working with other maintainers and working with the security team, developing patches to fix regressions that occurred in the various Tomcat packages as a result of upstreams patches and all these kind of things. And then blast radius, which was work that was done, a lot of that work was done by Santiago, and that was what was that? Oh, it was Radius. It was an authentication bypass issue, and so there was implementing client-side test code, fixing the test suite, investigating potential regressions, and these all involved interactions with the security team, with upstream, with other interested parties. So again, we're trying to not just stay in a little in a little silo where all we care about is backport this patch to LTS, make the upload, move on to the next thing. We're really making an effort to reach further and to try to deliver benefit to the rest of the community. All right, so one concern that has been raised to the LTS team, this was specifically brought up in Cambridge last year, but this is not the only time it's been brought up, but that there's sometimes kind of this race to get updates into LTS, and then the same updates will remain open in newer releases like stable or old stable. It's important to note that the lack of point releases in LTS does limit how we can coordinate, and that is part of it, but we have been making a stronger effort, and as you'll see on this slide and the next slide, to specifically coordinate updates with security teams, release managers, maintainers, so that when we are fixing CVEs in LTS, we're also fixing them via stable proposed updates or old stable proposed updates, as this list right here, which is more than a dozen packages. The Samba is a good example of one where Santiago prepared an update that was done in coordination with the security team that resulted in an upload to old stable security and then a DSA published by the security team. We've got, here with libde 256, fixing CVEs in proposed updates, and then also the LTS contributor sponsoring uploads to SID by the maintainer who's not yet a Debian developer, and then send patches to the maintainer, in this case, to here, go ahead and you can prepare the proposed update, and the whole, again, a whole list. So we're really trying to make the effort to not just do LTS and move on to the next LTS thing. We're trying to do the work of making sure that these updates are getting applied as broadly as they need to be. So our contributions, and there's a lot of contributions to Unstable, and those have two goals, right? Contributing to Debian as a whole, and then as I mentioned, working for the future, we want to provide Debian users with the most secure possible distribution. And so there are complex packages that have a history of CVEs, and with that in mind, we're glad to help package maintainers. Specifically, we're trying to make an effort now to help package maintainers in Debian package for unstable and testing the version of their package that has the best long-term support from upstream. A lot of upstreams, especially of large and complex projects, will have specific branches that they've designated as LTS, and so we are trying to help maintainers in that way as well, and we're happy to help out with these unstable related tasks, and we try to do this in a way that we're not stepping on other people's toes. Okay, and then in terms of other contributions that still, again, at the package level, MariaDB, we've had a fair amount of collaboration between Ruka, who's done just a monumental amount of work on all of these CVEs and triaging and identifying the appropriate commits and all this kind of stuff. Also working with the maintainer on analyzing the impacts of some of these patches. Apache 2, also work by Ruka on analyzing and helping to fix regressions. There's just, I guess there was a bit of a rush on the part of upstream to get some of these CVEs fixed, and they did it in ways that introduced regressions. And so, we've, from the LTS team perspective, have tried to help address that. and then Puma uploading to SID, fixing auto-package test failures, and then overall packaging improvements, Apache 2 and SendMail, also work done by Ruka collaborating with the maintainer, porting tests to SID, right? So we a lot of times want to implement tests in LTS because that helps us identify regressions. If we can then provide those to the maintainer, it's like, hey, implement this in the package in unstable, and let's have this, carry through the life cycle of the package from now on. And then, of course, Ruby has been an ongoing long-term collaboration with the maintainer, packaging fixes, setting up and fixing Salsa CI. So there's just a lot there. I really want to underscore that quite a number of LTS contributors have done substantial work outside of what we would generally consider the boundaries of LTS, with the specific goal of improving Debian as a whole, with the recognition that if we make these improvements, that also does help LTS down the road. It helps the users who need to rely on these releases for a longer period of time. Okay, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Santiago.
Yeah, so as Roberto mentioned, there are also contributions in general in Debian. For example, the Salsa CI team has benefited from improvements and contributions from me, but also from other members of the LTS team. For example, fixing permission issues or moving dead and used code, etc. There are several examples. Also working to our documenting corner cases in Debian package versions, for example. Roca has also worked on that. Apache 2 is also, again, one of the examples. With Bastian has interacted a lot with the upstream, proposing regression fixes. Free image, the graphic library is a particular case because the upstream maintainer is very unresponsible, and there are an important number of issues and CVEs that are open, and we are trying to put some order in the house, to report issues that are found in GitHub and somewhere else, and we are reporting them in the upstream BTS. We are reporting those issues to the CNAs so we can have some CVEs assigned. So we are interacting especially with Red Hat as CNA. Also, some members of the team has also interacted with Mitre or Red Hat to clean some of the CVEs that were duplicated or were bogus, and get new CVEs assigned. And outside Debian, for different reasons, we have also tried to reach out upstream directly. A couple of examples of those are MariaDB and Samba. Part of the reasons why we reached out to them was because we need technical help, because those are complex projects, but also, for example, for MariaDB, many of the CVEs are handled by Oracle, and they are not very clear about where is the issue and how to fix it. So we contacted MariaDB, both the company and the foundation, and for the moment this is the collaboration is stalled, and we don't know if we will be able to work with them. But anyway, this is an example of the collaboration that we are trying to do. Samba is a successful collaboration. We engage a contract with a company called Catalyst, so we can ensure 5 years of support for the version of Samba that is found in Bookworm. So the current stable release, not the old stable, but the stable one. And this is because Samba is an extremely complex project, and for the two previous old stable releases, so Buster and Bullseye, the security support for the Active Directory domain control was dropped at some point, which is a pity for the users of those releases. But one of the problems is because Samba, the protocol is at mercy of what Microsoft decides to do, and at some point it was technically impossible to keep the support. So Catalyst is in charge, or is helping to provide support for it. The funny thing is, since we signed the contract with Catalyst, not a single CVE ID has been assigned for Samba. But anyway, at least this is an assurance for the users of Bookworm that they could have a security support for Samba, regular support for the full release cycle in Debian, the full 5 years. We would like to publicly state, or thanks to different teams that relate to our work, we have to collaborate with them. So there is the security team, the release team, the FTP master team, the wanna build team, the web team, and they help a lot. So this is the opportunity to say thanks to them. So we are now happy to get your questions.
Hello. Who wanted
Andre.
to ask a question?
Andrea.
Yeah, someone. Yeah.
Hello. You said that important packages like SendMail are offend or QA maintained. And what do you think is probably we have more examples like this. What do you think is the best option for you to access these packages easily? So most probably on Salsa, do you want some team which you can easily join, or what do you think? What's the best option to deal with this?
Okay, so if I understand correctly, what you're asking is, using SendMail as an example, what would we want as a way to have easy access to the package and related things? I think we have that. Well, I think in the example of SendMail, it's already in Salsa. So from a location perspective, it's where we would want it to be. The coordination was with the QA team, which would be, for orphan packages, kind of the starting point. So as far as I can tell, for the SendMail example specifically, it worked well. And I don't know that there's much that we could do in the way of specific improvements. I'm not aware of any instances where we ran into like an orphan package that we said, well, this is important, we can't find it, we can't figure out what to do, we don't know who to talk to. So from my at least from what I know, we don't have that specific issue. We don't have a specific issue there that needs to be addressed.
I've seen some kind of Apache modules not maintained in Salsa yet or so.
Yeah,
something like this.
At least from our point of view, it helps a lot if the package are found in Salsa, and if they if they have auto-package test, for example, if they follow the DIP 14 best practices, that helps a lot from our point of view, that's sure. Because collaboration is easier, so we can get back patches and everything.
Yeah, and I kind of mentioned that at one point, that sort of that uniformity of workflow helps. So from a very specific examples. So there are some specific packages that maybe aren't in that right situation. I don't know that that's been an obstacle to our work from an LTS perspective. But if we're looking at it from a broader perspective, the better job we do of having a uniform packaging structure and workflow, the easier it is, because then you're facilitating different teams be able to come in and say, oh, I know how this is structured and I know how it works.
Don't be shy. We have plenty of time for questions.
Yeah. Also, we can answer questions about goats.
I have a question about goats. What kind of cheese do you like with goats?
So me personally, I'm lactose intolerant, so I have to stick to aged cheese. So my personal favorite is Manchego 90 days or older, because I can eat that and it doesn't really bother me very much.
A vegetarian. that answers your question.
No questions? All right.
Like everything was clear for everyone. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
No last question on IRC
Yeah.
or stuff?
Yeah, and please get in touch with us on the mailing list via IRC. We would, love to have additional contributions to, the LTS work.
Thank you very much.